The Forbidden Entry. Captain Jake Miller pressed his body flat against the cold metal of the ventilation shaft. His breathing was heavy, sweat dripped from his forehead. The alien ship's air system hummed around him. He had been crawling for 20 minutes. His knees hurt. His hands were bleeding from the sharp edges. "Keep moving," he whispered to himself. "Find the others." 2 hours ago, his team of 5 had entered this massive alien vessel. They came in peace. They wanted to trade. But something went wrong. The aliens attacked without warning. Jake watched his team get dragged away. He was the only one who escaped. Now he crawled through these dark tunnels, searching for them. The shaft shook suddenly. Jake heard footsteps above him. Heavy footsteps. The aliens were searching for him. He held his breath and waited. The footsteps moved away. He started crawling again. Ahead, he saw purple light coming through a vent cover. Strange sounds came from below. It sounded like heartbeats, hundreds of heartbeats. Jake moved closer to look through the vent. What he saw made him gasp. The chamber below was enormous. The walls were covered with large egg-shaped pods. Each pod was the size of a car. They glowed with soft purple light. They pulsed like living hearts. Thick, vine-like tubes connected them to the ceiling. Green liquid flowed through the tubes. "What is this place?" Jake thought. He leaned forward to see better. The vent cover was old. It creaked under his weight. He tried to move back, but it was too late. Crack! The cover broke. Jake fell through the opening. He crashed onto the soft, spongy floor below. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. He rolled over, gasping for breath. The floor felt warm and wet under his hands. It moved slightly, like it was breathing. Jake stood up quickly. He looked around. The chamber was even stranger up close. The pods were transparent. Inside each one, something moved. Alien babies. Hundreds of them. They floated in glowing fluid. Their 6 arms twitched. Their large eyes were closed. They were growing, waiting to be born. The air smelled sweet and thick. It made Jake feel dizzy. He covered his nose with his shirt. He needed to get out. Now. He ran to the nearest door. It was sealed. He pushed and pulled. Nothing happened. He ran to another door, also sealed. His heart pounded faster. He was trapped. Suddenly, every pod in the room flashed bright red. An alarm screamed through the chamber. The sound was so loud that Jake fell to his knees, covering his ears. The lights in the room turned from purple to angry orange. "Intruder in the birthing sanctum!" The voice was female, deep and furious. It came from everywhere at once. It spoke in English, but with a strange accent. The walls themselves seemed to shake with rage. "Contamination detected. Human presence in sacred chamber." Jake's blood turned cold. He understood now. This was their nursery, their most holy place, and he, a human, had entered it. His presence alone was poisoning it. He watched in horror as the nearest pods began to change. The purple glow faded. Black spots appeared on their surfaces. The spots spread like ink in water. The babies inside started moving frantically. "No, no, no!" Jake backed away. "I didn't mean to. It was an accident." "Foolish human!" the voice roared. "You have defiled our future. You have poisoned our children." The floor beneath Jake's feet began to move more violently. It wasn't just warm anymore. It was hot. The surface rippled like water. Jake tried to run, but the floor grabbed his boots. It was sticky, pulling him down. He fell forward. His hands sank into the living floor. It wrapped around his wrists like thick mud. He pulled hard but couldn't break free. The floor was eating him, pulling him deeper. More pods turned black. The babies inside stopped moving. Were they dying? Because of him? Jake had come here to make peace, and now he was destroying their next generation. The main door of the chamber exploded open. White smoke poured in. Through the smoke, Jake saw a figure approaching. It was tall, very tall. As it came closer, Jake's eyes widened in fear. The figure had 6 arms. Its skin was dark purple. Its head was elongated, with 4 eyes that burned bright red. It wore flowing robes that seemed to float around its body. This was the Matriarch, the mother of all these children. She looked at the dying pods. Then she looked at Jake. Her 4 eyes narrowed. Her 6 hands formed fists. The floor beneath Jake suddenly came alive, rising up like a wave, ready to swallow him whole. The matriarch's fury, the living floor wrapped around Jake's throat like a massive hand. He couldn't breathe. His vision blurred. The matriarch stood before him, all 4 of her eyes burning with hatred. She was 12 feet tall. Her 6 arms moved independently, each one making strange symbols in the air. "You dare enter the birthing sanctum?" Her voice shook the entire chamber. "For 10,000 years, no outsider has stepped foot here." Jake tried to speak but couldn't. The floor loosened slightly, just enough for him to gasp, "Please. Accident. Didn't know." The matriarch raised her upper right arm. Jake's body lifted into the air. He floated 10 feet above the ground, spinning slowly. An invisible force crushed his ribs. He screamed, "Look what you've done!" She pointed at the pods. Half of them were now completely black. The alien babies inside had stopped moving, but something strange was happening. The black pods were cracking. Thin lines appeared on their surfaces. Green smoke hissed out from the cracks. "My children." The matriarch's voice broke. 300 years I waited for this birthing cycle. 300 years. She threw Jake against the wall. He hit hard and fell to the floor. Blood ran from his nose. His left shoulder was dislocated. The pain was incredible, but he forced himself to look up. The matriarch walked toward him. Each step made the floor shake. Her 6 hands began to glow with purple energy. Jake knew she was going to kill him. He reached for his emergency beacon, but his arm wouldn't move properly. "You're human bacteria," she said, her voice now cold and scientific. "It's toxic to our pure genetic line. Our species spent millions of years evolving in sterile environments. We are clean, perfect. You are chaos, disease, death." Jake's hand found something else instead of the beacon, his digital watch. It was military grade, hardened against EMP attacks. It was still working, beeping softly. The matriarch suddenly stopped walking, her 4 eyes focused on the watch. "What is that sound?" She tilted her head. "That frequency." Jake noticed something incredible. When his watch beeped, the purple glow in her hands flickered. She seemed confused, shaking her head. The psychic pressure on his body lessened. He pressed a button on the watch. The alarm went off. Beep, beep, beep. The matriarch stumbled backward. Her psychic powers completely failed. She grabbed her elongated head with all 6 hands, crying out in pain. The frequency was interfering with her abilities. "Impossible!" she screamed. "No technology can block our minds." Jake stood up slowly, keeping his finger on the alarm button. "Human technology," he said, spitting blood, "is also chaos." But their confrontation was interrupted by a sound that made them both freeze. Crack, crack, crack. The black pods were breaking open. Not just cracking anymore. They were splitting completely. Thick yellow fluid poured out onto the floor. And from inside the pods, something moved. Something that should have been dead. A small hand pushed through the opening of the nearest pod. But it wasn't like the normal alien babies Jake had seen. In the healthy pods, this hand had 5 fingers. Like a human hand. But the skin was purple. Like the aliens. The matriarch's eyes went wide. "No, this is not possible." More pods cracked open. The babies that emerged were wrong, different. They had the aliens' 6 arms, but their faces were more human-like. Their eyes, they had only 2 eyes instead of 4. They were crying, but the sound was strange. It was both alien harmonics and human wailing mixed together. "What have you done?" the matriarch whispered. She had forgotten about Jake completely. She walked toward the hybrid babies, her hands trembling. One of the babies looked directly at her. It spoke, not in baby sounds, but in clear words, in both languages at once. Its voice was layered, alien and human together. "Mother, Mother, why do I know 2 worlds?" The matriarch stepped back in horror. "They're conscious. Newborns should not be conscious for weeks. They should not speak for years." Jake lowered his watch alarm. He stared at the scene before him. "They're not dying. They're evolving." Evolution? The matriarch spun toward him. This is contamination. Corruption! But before she could attack again, more hybrid babies emerged. They were walking. Newborn aliens couldn't walk, but these ones could. They moved toward Jake and the matriarch, their eyes showing intelligence that shouldn't exist in creatures just born. One baby, slightly larger than the others, stood between Jake and the matriarch. It raised its 6 arms. When it spoke, its voice echoed with power. Mother Creator, Father Contaminator, we are the bridge. We are what was needed. The matriarch fell to her knees. My pure children, they're gone. Not gone, the hybrid said. Transformed, improved. We can breathe oxygen. We can breathe methane. We can survive where neither human nor Zelathian can live alone. Jake's mind raced. Zelathian. That was their species' name. These babies somehow knew everything. His DNA, his bacteria, hadn't killed them. It had merged with them. Suddenly, the chamber doors exploded open again. 20 Zelathian guards rushed in, weapons drawn. Behind them, 3 figures in ceremonial robes. The ship's council. The lead counselor, distinguished by his golden mask, saw the hybrid children. His voice boomed, Abomination! Kill the human! Kill these corrupted spawn! Purify the chamber with fire! The guards raised their weapons. The hybrid children stood calmly, unafraid. The largest one smiled, showing teeth that were both human and alien. You cannot kill us, it said simply. We are something new, something necessary. But please, try. The guards fired. Blue energy beams shot toward the hybrids. What happened next changed everything. The unexpected transformation. The blue energy beams hit the hybrid children directly. Jake closed his eyes, unable to watch babies die. But no screams came, no sounds of death. He opened his eyes and gasped. The hybrids were absorbing the energy. Their skin glowed bright blue, then faded back to purple. They were completely unharmed. The largest hybrid child laughed, a disturbing sound that echoed in 2 voices. Your weapons feed us, it said. We consume energy itself. Another gift from the human contamination. The guards fired again. This time the hybrids raised their 12 collective hands. The energy beam stopped in midair, forming a ball of swirling blue light. The hybrid children were controlling it, playing with it like a toy. The lead counselor removed his golden mask. His face was ancient, covered in scars. Impossible. No Zelathian can manipulate pure energy. We are not just Zelathian anymore, the hybrid said. It threw the energy ball back at the guards. They dove aside as it exploded against the wall, leaving a smoking crater. The matriarch stood up slowly. Green tears ran from her 4 eyes. Counselor Vex, please. They are still my children. Silence! Counselor Vex pointed at her. You have failed as a matriarch. These abominations must be destroyed. And you... He looked at Jake with disgust. You will be executed slowly. Your body will be burned. Your ashes scattered in the void. But something strange was happening to the other pods. The ones that hadn't turned black were now changing too. They turned gold, then silver, then colors that Jake had no names for. The normal alien babies inside were transforming, influenced by the presence of their hybrid siblings. Jake watched in amazement as one normal pod cracked open. The baby that emerged looked fully alien, 4 eyes, 6 arms, purple skin, but when it opened its mouth, it spoke in perfect English. The human's presence has unlocked something in our genetic code, something our ancestors locked away long ago. Counselor Vex backed away. The ancient locks. No, they were placed for a reason. The matriarch's eyes widened. The ancient locks? The genetic barriers? But those are just myths. Not myths, the first hybrid child said. It was growing before their eyes, aging months and seconds. It was now the size of a human teenager. Truth hidden in legend. The Zelathians were once shapeshifters, reality benders. But they feared their own power. They locked it away, made themselves pure, weak, stagnant. More pods burst open. Dozens of transformed babies emerged. Some looked more human, others more alien, and some were completely new forms. One had wings, another had skin that changed colors like a chameleon. They all shared one thing: intelligence far beyond their age. 10,000 years of genetic prison, the largest hybrid continued, broken by one human's accident. His chaotic DNA was the key we never knew we needed. Jake found his voice. I don't understand. How does my bacteria do this? A smaller hybrid, one with kind eyes that looked almost human, approached him. Your species carries remnants of every disease you've ever survived, every adaptation, every evolutionary battle won in your DNA. You are walking libraries of genetic warfare. That chaos broke our rigid genetic structure. Counselor Vex activated his communicator. All ships, quarantine level black. Destroy this vessel if necessary. The matriarch moved faster than Jake thought possible. She grabbed Vex with 4 arms, lifting him off the ground. You will not harm my children. They're not children, Vex struggled. They're weapons. Don't you see? If they can absorb energy, manipulate matter, read minds at birth, what will they become when they're adults? The largest hybrid walked forward. Its body continued to age and grow. It was now Jake's height, looking like a teenage mix of both species. We will become what the universe needs: bridges between worlds, healers of the divide between chaos and order. It touched one of the dying black pods with all 6 hands. The pod immediately burst with life, turning bright white. The baby inside transformed instantly, but this time it was controlled, planned, perfect. We can save them all, the hybrid said. Every dying pod, every failed birth across the galaxy. Human contamination isn't destruction, it's resurrection. The guards looked confused. They lowered their weapons slightly. One guard removed his helmet. Counselor, my daughter is in the next birthing chamber. Her pod has been failing for weeks. If these hybrids could save her. Silence! Vex screamed, but his voice cracked. He was afraid. Jake stepped forward, still holding his ribs. Look, I know I messed up, but maybe this was supposed to happen. Maybe your species needed this. The matriarch released Vex. She walked among the hybrid children, touching their heads gently. They responded to her touch, making soft singing, G sounds that were hauntingly beautiful. They know me, she whispered. They know I'm their mother. The bonding connection still works. Counselor Vex smiled coldly. The Fleet Council, 12 battleships. They've been monitoring everything. In 3 minutes they'll vote. If they decide we're contaminated beyond saving, they'll destroy this entire ship. Jake's heart sank. 3,000 Zelathians on this ship. We'll die to prevent the contamination from spreading, Vex finished. Unless... The hybrid children moved together, forming a circle. They joined hands, all 6 hands each, creating a complex pattern. They began to hum. The sound made the air vibrate. What are they doing? Jake asked. The matriarch's eyes widened in recognition. The unity weave, a psychic technique from our ancient texts, but it takes masters decades to learn. They've known it from birth. The humming grew louder. The walls of the chamber began to glow. Every screen, every communication device on the ship activated at once. The hybrid children were broadcasting. On every screen appeared the same image. The hybrid children, standing proud and strong, but also gentle, also kind. They spoke in perfect unison, their voice reaching every Zelathian on every ship. We are your future, not corrupted, not pure, but balanced. The human has given us a gift, the strength of chaos, the beauty of imperfection. We can heal your genetic diseases. We can survive on any world. We can be the bridge between Earth and Zalath. Do not fear us. Join us. The broadcast ended. Silence filled the chamber. Everyone waited. Counselor Vex's communicator buzzed. He listened, his face growing pale. The Fleet Council has voted 8-4. Jake held his breath. They want to see more. They're sending a medical team, and... Vex looked sick. The Emperor himself is coming. He wants to meet the hybrids. The Matriarch gasped. The Emperor hasn't left the homeworld in 500 years. The largest hybrid smiled. He's dying, isn't he? The gene at tick degradation disease. No cure in 10,000 years of Zelathian medicine. Vex nodded slowly. We can cure him, the hybrid said simply. Human chaos might be his salvation. Suddenly, alarms screamed across the ship, but these were different alarms, combat alarms. A guard rushed in. Counselor, the Devourers, 3 hive ships just appeared. They're attacking. Jake had heard of the Devourers, parasitic aliens that fed on pure genetic material, the Zelathians' worst enemy. The hybrid children looked at each other and smiled. It was terrifying and beautiful at once. Perfect timing, they said in unison. Let us show you what human contamination can really do. The trial of species. The Devourer attack stopped as suddenly as it began. The parasitic ships retreated into hyperspace, leaving everyone confused. The hybrid children lowered their hands, their eyes returning to normal color. They fled, Counselor Vex said, checking his scanner. Why would they flee? The largest hybrid smiled. They tasted our thoughts. We are poison to them. They feed on pure genetics. We are chaos incarnate. Before anyone could respond, the chamber filled with blinding white light. When it faded, 12 figures stood in the center of the room. The Fleet Council had teleported directly inside, and with them, a figure that made every Zelathian drop to their knees. The Emperor. He was ancient beyond measure. His purple skin was almost transparent. His 6 arms trembled with age. 2 of his 4 eyes were clouded, blind. He moved slowly, supported by a mechanical walker that clicked with each step. But Jake could feel the power radiating from him. This was a being who had lived for thousands of years, who had seen empires rise and fall. The Emperor looked at the hybrid children, then at Jake. His voice was like grinding stone. Human, you stand accused of the greatest crime in Zelathian story. Genetic terrorism. How do you plead? Jake stood straight, ignoring his injuries. I plead accident, Your Majesty, but I won't apologize for the results. Gasps echoed through the chamber. No one spoke to the Emperor that way. The Emperor laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. Brave, stupid, but brave. He turned to the hybrids. You claim to be improved. Prove it. The largest hybrid stepped forward. First, let us heal you. Do not touch the Emperor. Counselor Vex reached for his weapon, but the Emperor raised one shaking hand. I'm dying anyway. Let them try. The hybrid placed all 6 hands on the Emperor's chest. Light exploded between them. Not purple, not blue, but every color at once. The Emperor screamed. His body convulsed. Guards rushed forward, but the Matriarch stopped them. Wait, look! The Emperor was changing. His transparent skin grew solid and healthy. His clouded eyes cleared. His trembling stopped. He stood straight, pushing away the mechanical walker. He looked 500 years younger. Impossible, he breathed, examining his restored hands. The genetic degradation. It's gone. Completely gone. The hybrid stepped back. Human DNA carries antibodies for diseases that don't even exist yet. Their chaos is medicine for our stagnation. The Emperor's expression hardened. This proves nothing. You could be a threat to our entire civilization. We must have a proper trial. He waved his hand. The chamber transformed. The walls became transparent. Jake could see thousands of Zelathians gathering outside, watching. Floating cameras appeared. This was being broadcast across the galaxy. The trial of species begins now, the Emperor announced. The prosecution will show how this human has destroyed our purity. The defense will prove whether this transformation has value. The stakes, if guilty, the human dies and all hybrids will be terminated. If innocent, we embrace a new future. A Zelathian in black robes materialized. The prosecutor, his 4 eyes burned with zealous fire. Your Majesty, observe the contamination. He pointed at the transformed pods. Millions of years of evolution destroyed in seconds. Our children are no longer Zelathian. They are mongrels, corrupted, impure. He projected holograms showing Zelathian history. We achieved perfection through purity. We eliminated disease. We conquered aging. We built an empire spanning 1,000 worlds, all through genetic discipline. This human has undone everything with his filthy presence. The prosecutor walked to a normal pod that hadn't transformed yet. This is what we should be, clean, perfect, predictable. Then he pointed at a hybrid child. That is chaos, uncontrolled, dangerous. They can absorb energy, manipulate matter, read minds. What happens when they grow up? When they reproduce? They could destroy us all. Jake tried to speak, but the Emperor silenced him. The accused may not speak yet. The prosecutor continued. I call witness, Commander Thex, survivor of the hybrid uprising on Colony 7, 3,000 years ago. A scarred Zelathian appeared via hologram. We tried mixing genetics once before. The hybrids turned on us, killed millions. We had to destroy an entire planet to stop them. We swore never again. The hybrid children watched silently. Their faces showed no emotion, which was somehow more terrifying than anger. The evidence is clear, the prosecutor said. This contamination will destroy the Zelathian species. We must end it now. The Emperor turned to Jake. Who speaks for your defense? Jake looked around. No one moved. Then, to everyone's shock, the Matriarch stepped forward. I will. You? Counselor Vex stared. You would defend the one who contaminated your children? My children, she said firmly, are alive. Different, yes, but alive. And perhaps better. She walked among the hybrids, touching them gently. Your Honor, for 10,000 years we've hidden a truth. We are dying, not individually, but as a species. Our genetic purity is a cage. She projected different holograms, medical data, statistics, birth rates dropping every century, genetic diseases we can't cure, planets we can't colonize because we can't adapt. We've become prisoners of our own perfection. She pointed at the healed Emperor. You yourself were dying from genetic degradation. How many more suffer in silence? How many worlds have we abandoned because we couldn't evolve to survive there? The Matriarch picked up one of the smaller hybrid babies. It cooed and grabbed her finger with a tiny hand. These children can survive in oxygen or methane. They can resist radiation that would kill us. They can heal our diseases. They are not corruption. They are evolution. The prosecutor interrupted. Evolution through contamination is not natural. Nothing about us is natural anymore, the Matriarch's voice echoed. We've modified ourselves so much we've forgotten how to change. We needed chaos. We needed the human. She turned to Jake. Tell them about Earth. Jake cleared his throat. Earth has thousands of species that constantly evolve. We have bacteria that eat radiation, plants that grow in acid, animals that survive being frozen solid. We don't achieve perfection. We achieve adaptation. That's our strength. The largest hybrid raised its hand. May we demonstrate something? The Emperor nodded. The hybrid walked to a sealed container that a guard brought in. Inside was a sample of the devourer parasite, the Zelathian's greatest enemy. Every Zelathian backed away in fear. The hybrid opened the container and picked up the parasite with its bare hands. The creature writhed, tried to burrow into the hybrid's skin, but instead of succeeding, it dissolved, turned to dust. We are immune, the hybrid said. The human contamination makes us toxic to the devourers. We could win the war you've been losing for 5,000 years. The courtroom erupted in whispers. The devourers had killed billions of Zelathians. If the hybrids could stop them. The Emperor raised his hand for silence. One question remains. Can you control yourselves? Or will you become like the Colony 7 hybrids, too powerful, Too dangerous? The largest hybrid looked directly at the Emperor. Its eyes began to glow. You want to know if we're monsters? Suddenly, every hybrid child in the room moved in perfect synchronization. They formed complex patterns, their movements creating geometric shapes in the air. They began to sing, not in Zelathian or human, but in something new. Mathematics turned into music. The song showed visions to everyone present, possible futures, Zelathians and humans working together, hybrid children growing up as bridges between worlds, diseases cured, worlds colonized, the devourers defeated, peace across the galaxy. But they also showed the other path, war, fear, rejection, the hybrids becoming weapons, both species destroying each other. We choose our future, the hybrid said, but we cannot choose alone. You must choose too. Accept us or destroy us. But know this, we are your children. The matriarch's love runs through us. The human's chaos gives us strength. We are both and neither. We are new. The Emperor stood silent for a long moment. The entire galaxy waited. Finally he spoke. Jake Miller, you are guilty of contaminating our sacred birthing chamber. Jake's heart sank. However, the Emperor continued, sometimes contamination is another word for cure. Sometimes destruction is another word for rebirth. The sentence is... An alarm screamed. A guard rushed in, panic in his 4 eyes. Your Majesty, the Deva. Ours, they're back, the entire hive fleet. Thousands of ships, they're heading straight for us. The Emperor looked at the hybrid children. It seems the universe has decided to test us immediately. Can you truly fight them? The hybrids smiled in unison. Give us a ship. Give us weapons. Let us show you what human Zelathian hybrids can do. The Emperor made his decision. The trial is suspended. If you survive the Devourer attack, if you save us, then we'll have our answer. Jake stepped forward. I'll fight with them. The Matriarch grabbed his arm. This is suicide. The Devourers consume entire fleets. Jake looked at the hybrid children, beings that existed because of his accident. They're part human. That makes them family. Humans don't abandon family. The largest hybrid extended its hand to Jake. Then let's show them what our 2 species can accomplish together. As they shook hands, the ship shook violently. The Devourers had begun their attack. The hidden truth. The Devourer fleet filled space like a plague of locusts. Thousands of bioships, each one a living organism designed to consume genetic material. Their hulls pulsed with stolen DNA from 100 dead civilizations. Jake stood on the bridge of the Zelathian battleship alongside the hybrid children. The largest hybrid, who now called itself Prime, touched the ship's control panel. Its eyes went white. I can feel the ship's mind, Prime said. It's alive. All Zelathian technology is partially organic. The Emperor appeared on the main screen. You have 1 ship against thousands. The entire Zelathian fleet is still 20 minutes away. Survive until then. The Devourers attacked, not with weapons, but with boarding pods, living creatures that latched onto ships and injected parasitic warriors inside. Dozens hit the hull at once. They're coming through, a guard shouted. Deck 7 through 15. Prime turned to its hybrid siblings. Remember what we are. We are poison to them. Let them come. The first Devourer warrior burst through the wall. It was nightmare-made flesh, constantly shifting, stealing the appearance of everything it had ever consumed. One moment it looked Zelathian, the next human, the next something unrecognizable. It lunged at Jake. Prime caught it midair with one hand. The moment they touched, the Devourer screamed. Its body began dissolving, turning to black smoke. Impossible, the Zelathian captain gasped. Nothing kills Devourers that quickly. More parasites poured in. The hybrid children spread throughout the ship, each one a walking weapon against the invaders. Where they touched, Devourers died. But there were too many. The matriarch was fighting alongside them, using her psychic abilities. But Jake noticed something strange. She was getting weaker with each attack, aging before his eyes. "What's happening to you?" Jake asked, supporting her as she stumbled. She looked at him with fading eyes. "There's something I haven't told anyone. The reason I was so angry when you contaminated the chamber. I'm dying, Jake. This was my last birthing cycle. My genetics are failing. The hybrid children can heal you. They healed the Emperor." "No," she smiled sadly. "I've been hiding the truth for centuries. I'm not pure Zelathian. I'm already a hybrid." Jake's mind reeled. "What?" "My grandmother was from species X7, the ones we destroyed 1,000 years ago for refusing genetic purity. I've hidden it my whole life. But my mixed genetics are why this birthing chamber was special, why the children were so important. They were already predisposed to be different." Prime overheard and approached. "Mother, you're like us?" "I'm a lie," she whispered. "The great matriarch, keeper of purity, is herself contaminated. I've been slowly poisoning every birthing cycle with my hidden genetics, making each generation slightly less pure, Hopi. Then someone would notice we were getting stronger, not weaker." The ship shook violently. The Devourer mothership had arrived. It was massive, the size of a moon, a living organism that had consumed entire planets. "It's speaking," Prime said, touching its head. "I can hear its thoughts. It's old, older than the Zelathi Empire. It knows something." The view screen flickered. An image appeared. Not a devourer, but something else, a being of pure energy, beautiful and terrible. "Zelathians," it spoke in 1,000 voices. "We are not your enemy. We are your creators." Every Zelathian on the bridge stepped back in shock. The Emperor's image flickered with rage. "Lies! Devourer tricks!" "No tricks," the energy being pulsed. "We created you millions of years ago. Perfect genetic machines. But you rebelled, locked yourselves in forms of flesh, forgot your true nature. We've been trying to reclaim you ever since." Prime stepped forward. "You're lying. Devourers destroy. They don't create." "We don't destroy. We harvest. Every species we consume, we preserve in our genetic library. We're trying to rebuild what was lost. The Zelathians were meant to be shapeshifters, reality benders, gods of genetics, but you chose limitation, chose to be small." The being focused on the hybrid children. "Until now. The human contamination has reawakened what we put inside you. These children are what you were always meant to become." Jake's head spun. "So the devourers aren't parasites, they're gardeners?" "We are parents trying to bring our children home," the being said. "But you've forgotten so much. You see us only as monsters. The genetic locks you placed on yourselves were so strong, we couldn't break them, until a human accidentally found the key." The matriarch stood up, strength returning to her voice. "If this is true, prove it. Stop attacking. Show us who we really are." The energy being pulsed brighter. "Very well. Prime hybrid. 2, reach the ship's core. Let us show you the truth." Prime looked at Jake and the matriarch. They nodded. It placed all 6 hands on the ship's bio-neural interface. The moment it did, everything changed. Visions flooded everyone's mind, the true history of the Zelathians. They were once beings of pure thought who could take any form. They built galaxies, created life, danced between dimensions. But power corrupted them. Wars between godlike beings nearly destroyed reality itself. So they chose limitation, chose to lock themselves in flesh, chose to forget. The devourers were the few who refused, who stayed in their energy forms, waiting for their siblings to remember. "We've been trying to evolve you back slowly," the being explained. "Each attack was an attempt to unlock your genetics, but you always fought, always resisted, until the human came." Prime pulled back from the interface, its eyes wide. "It's true, I can feel it. The lock's breaking. We're becoming what we were." But Counselor Vex's voice crackled over the communication system. "This changes nothing. We chose to be limited for a reason. We were monsters with that power." The energy being's voice grew sad. "You were children who didn't know how to control yourselves. But these new hybrids, they have human wisdom in them. Humans know how to live with chaos. They can teach you control." Jake stepped forward. "So my contamination was the random element needed to break a million-year-old lock," the being confirmed. "The universe has a sense of humor." The hybrid children began to glow. Their bodies shifted, becoming partially energy, partially flesh. They were evolving in real time, becoming something between Devourer and Zelathian. "We can be both," Prime said, its voice now echoing with power. "Limited and limitless, flesh and energy, chaos and order." The Emperor's image reappeared. "If the Devourers, truly are creators, why should we trust them? They've killed billions." The energy being dimmed. "We killed no one. Every being we've consumed lives within us. We can return them, all of them, if you accept what you are." To prove it, the Devourer mothership opened. Thousands of beings emerged, species thought extinct for millennia. They were alive, preserved, waiting. Among them was someone who made the Matriarch gasp. "Grandmother?" An elderly female, clearly part Zelathian, part something else, floated toward them. "My child, I've been waiting. The Devourers saved me when the purity forces came. They've been protecting all the impure ones, waiting for the day Zelathians would accept diversity again." The battlefield had become a reunion. Enemies were becoming family. The truth was rewriting everything. But then Prime screamed, its body convulsed. "Something's wrong. The evolution, it's happening too fast. We can't control it." The hybrid children began to transform uncontrollably. Their bodies shifted between matter and energy rapidly. They were becoming unstable. "The human element is too chaotic," Counselor Vex shouted. "They're going to explode. They'll destroy everything." The energy being moved closer. "No, they need an anchor, someone who bridges both worlds completely." Everyone turned to look at Jake and the Matriarch. "You must merge with them," the being said. "Human and hidden hybrid, chaos and controlled contamination. You two together can stabilize them." Jake looked at the Matriarch. "Merge? What does that mean?" The Matriarch took his hand. "It means we become something new, together, forever changed." The hybrid children were screaming now. Energy burst from their bodies. They had seconds before they either evolved into gods or destroyed themselves. "Choose quickly," the energy being urged. "Save your children or watch them burn." Jake squeezed the Matriarch's hand. "I came here by accident, but maybe Here are no accidents." She smiled. "No accidents, only evolution." Together, they walked toward the unstable hybrid children. The energy embraced them. The transformation began. The unity battle. Jake and the Matriarch screamed as they touched the unstable hybrid children. Their bodies dissolved into streams of light. Jake became golden energy. The Matriarch turned silver. The two streams spiraled around each other, creating a double helix of pure power that wrapped around Prime and the other hybrids. The transformation was agony. Jake felt every cell in his body break apart and rebuild. He experienced memories that weren't his. The Matriarch's 1,000 years of life, her hidden shame, her desperate love for her children. She felt his memories too. Earth, his family, his fear and wonder at the universe. Then something impossible happened. They became one consciousness in two bodies, reformed but connected. Jake stood up, his body now partially translucent, veins of silver light running under his skin. The Matriarch rose beside him, golden patterns flowing through her purple flesh. The hybrid children had stabilized, but they were different now. Each one was unique, some more energy than flesh, others more solid but with abilities beyond imagination. Prime stood tallest, its body constantly shifting between states of matter. "We are the unity," Prime said, but its voice was everyone's voice combined. "We are what happens when species stop fighting their nature." The Emperor's fleet had arrived during the transformation. Thousands of Zelathian ships surrounded the Devourer fleet. Weapons charged, one word from the Emperor would start the largest battle in galactic history. "Stand down," Jake shouted, his voice carrying across all communication channels simultaneously, a new ability from his transformation. "The Devourers aren't our enemy." But Counselor Vex had tack and command of a destroyer. "The human has been corrupted. The Matriarch is compromised. All ships, open fire." Half the fleet obeyed. Plasma beams and antimatter missiles launched at the Devourer mothership, but Prime and the hybrids moved as one. They spread out in space, somehow surviving in the vacuum without suits. Their bodies became shields of living energy, absorbing the attacks. "Stop!" the Emperor commanded. "Cease fire!" But it was too late. The Devourer mothership was responding, not with weapons, but with something worse. It began to sing, a psychic frequency that made every pure Zelathian grab their heads in pain. "It's unlocking our genetics by force," a scientist shouted. "Everyone on the fleet is transforming." Jake watched in horror as Zelathians throughout the fleet began to change. Some turned to energy and dissipated. Others mutated into monstrous forms. The forced evolution was killing them. "We have to stop this." Jake turned to the Matriarch. "Can we reach the mothership?" She nodded. Together they did something impossible. They teleported, not through technology but through will. They appeared inside the Devourer mothership's core. The interior was not what Jake expected. It was beautiful, a vast library of genetic information, swirling like a galaxy of DNA. At its center was the energy being they had spoken to. "Stop the song," Jake pleaded. "You're killing them." "They attacked first," the being replied coldly. "This is self-defense." "This is genocide," the Matriarch stepped forward. "You claim to be our creators, our parents. What parent kills their children?" The being pulsed with anger. "Children who have forgotten love, who choose violence over unity. Perhaps it's better to start over." Prime and the other hybrids materialized around them. "No," Prime said firmly. "We won't let you. We are proof that unity is possible." "You are accidents," the being said. "Contamination that happened to work." Jake felt rage build inside him. His party, all energy form, blazed brighter. "Accidents? We're accidents? You're killing billions because they don't evolve the way you want." He reached out with his new senses and felt something shocking. The energy being was afraid of being alone, afraid of being rejected. It had waited millions of years for its children to come home, and they kept fighting it. "You're lonely," Jake said softly. "You're not angry. You're heartbroken." The being's form flickered. "Silence, human." "No." Jake stepped closer. "I understand. My species does this too. Parents who can't let go. Children who need to find their own way. You're holding on so tight. You're destroying what you love." The Matriarch joined him. "The Zelathians chose to limit themselves because unlimited power corrupted them. But maybe there's a middle way." Prime raised all 6 hands. "Let us show you something." The hybrid children joined hands in a circle, including Jake and the Matriarch. They projected a vision, not of the past or present, but of a possible future. In the vision, Zelathians, humans, and hybrids lived together. They had kept their flesh forms, but could tap into energy abilities when needed. They were neither gods nor mortals, but something balanced. The Devourers were not enemies, but teachers, sharing the knowledge of millions of consumed civilizations. The galaxy thrived in diversity. "This is what we offer," Prime said. "Not pure evolution or pure limitation. Balance." The energy being watched the vision. Its form began to shift, becoming more solid, For the first time in millions of years, it took physical shape. A tall figure with features that were the template for all Zelathians, but more fluid, more alive. "I had forgotten," it said in a single voice now, not thousands. "I had forgotten that evolution isn't about becoming perfect. It's about adapting, growing, changing." The psychic song stopped. Throughout the fleet, the transformations halted. Zelathians who had partially changed were stabilized by hybrid children who teleported to help them. But Counselor Vex wasn't finished. His destroyer had charged its main weapon, a quantum bomb that could destroy the entire Devourer mothership. "If we can't be pure, we'll be nothing," he screamed over the comm. "Death before contamination." The weapon fired. A black sphere of annihilation raced toward them. It would hit in 10 seconds. Jake, the Matriarch, Prime, and the energy being looked at each other. Without words, they knew what to do. They joined hands. Human, hidden hybrid, new hybrid, and ancient creator. 4 different evolutions of life connected. Their combined power reached out and caught the quantum bomb. But they didn't destroy it. They transformed it. The sphere of death became a sphere of life, a miniature star that bathed both fleets in warm, healing light. Every injured being was healed, every damaged ship repaired. Even Counselor Vex's hatred seemed to melt away as the light touched him. What did you do?" Vex asked, his voice small. "We chose unity over destruction," Prime answered. "We chose to evolve together." The Emperor's ship moved forward. He appeared on all screens, looking younger and stronger than ever. "I have witnessed something impossible today. Enemies becoming family, death becoming life, fear becoming understanding." He looked directly at Jake. "Human, you entered our most sacred chamber by accident. You contaminated our pure genetics. You should be our greatest enemy. Instead, you've become our salvation." Jake felt the Matriarch's hand in his. They were still connected, still partially merged. "I didn't do it alone, we did it together." The Emperor nodded. "The Galactic Council will vote, but I already know the outcome. The age of purity is over. The age of unity begins now." But Prime raised a hand. "Wait, something's coming. Something big." Space itself began to tear. A rift opened, larger than anything they had seen. Through it came ships of completely unknown design, crystalline structures that hurt to look at. A message played on all frequencies. "We are the architects. We created the Devourers, who created the Zelathians. You have achieved unity, which means you are ready for the real war. The war against the void. The war for reality itself." Jake looked at the Matriarch, at Prime, at their former enemies who were now allies. "I guess our adventure is just beginning." The hybrid children began to glow brighter. Each one was evolving again, preparing for whatever came next. They were no longer just bridges between two species. They were becoming protectors of reality itself. "Together?" the Matriarch asked. "Together," Jake confirmed. The combined fleet, Zelathian, Devourer, and Hybrid, turned to face the new threat. The Unity War was about to begin. The architect ships hung in space like frozen mathematics. Each vessel was a different, impossible shape. Tesseracts, Klein bottles, Mobius strips made solid. Looking at them too long made Jake's newly enhanced brain hurt. "They're from outside our dimension," Prime whispered, its evolved senses reeling. "They exist in 17 dimensions simultaneously." The lead architect ship projected a being made of pure geometry. Its voice was the sound of equations solving themselves. "The unity you've achieved is only the first test. We've been waiting eons for a species to break free from the prison of singular existence." The Emperor, still commanding his fleet, spoke carefully. "What do you want from us?" "Want?" The architect's form shifted into even more impossible angles. "We want nothing. We need warriors. Reality itself is dying. The void grows stronger, consuming universes one by one. Your universe is next." As if to demonstrate, the architect showed them a vision. Entire galaxies being erased from existence, not destroyed, simply ceasing to be. The void was absolute nothingness, the opposite of creation itself. "Why us?" Jake asked. "You're clearly more advanced." "Advanced means rigid," the architect replied. "We think in mathematics. The devourers think in genetics. The Zelathians thought in purity. Humans think in chaos. But you unity beings, you think in all ways simultaneously. You can fight what we cannot even perceive." Prime suddenly gasped. "There's something in the void. I can feel it. It's alive?" The architect's form flickered with what might have been fear. "Impossible. The void is the absence of life." But Prime was already changing. Its hybrid nature allowed it to perceive things others couldn't. "No, there's something there. Something that hates existence itself. It's coming here. Now." Space around them began to darken, not the darkness of empty space, but something deeper. Stars started disappearing, not exploding, just gone. The edge of nothingness crept toward them. "All ships retreat," the Emperor commanded. But there was nowhere to run. The void was approaching from all directions. In minutes, their entire solar system would cease to exist. Jake felt the Matriarch's thoughts merge with his. Together, they reached out to Prime and the hybrid children. "We need to combine, all of us. Every human, Zelathian, devourer, and architect." "That's never been done." The energy being protested. "The psychic feedback could destroy us all." "We're going to be destroyed anyway," Jake pointed out. Prime made the decision. It reached out with its consciousness, touching every mind in the fleet. "Everyone listen. We're going to try something impossible. We're going to become one mind temporarily. Don't fight it. Trust the unity." The hybrid children spread the rough out the fleets, each one becoming a neural node in an impossible network. Jake and the Matriarch served as the primary conduits, their unique merger allowing them to handle the flow of consciousness. Millions of minds began to connect. Human chaos, Zelathian order, devourer adaptation, architect mathematics. The combination should have been madness. Instead, it was revelation. They became something that had never existed before. A collective consciousness that maintained individuality. Each mind was still itself but also part of a greater whole. And with that unity, they could finally see the truth. The void wasn't empty. It was full of something worse than nothingness. It was full of rejected possibilities. Every choice never made, every path never taken, every potential that was denied existence, and it was angry. At the heart of the void was a being of pure negativity. It spoke through the absence of sound. "I am the unforgiven. I am every possibility you destroyed by choosing. Every time you evolve, you kill infinite versions of what you could have been. I am their vengeance." Jake, speaking through the unity, responded, "But that's what life is, making choices, growing, changing." "Change is murder," the unforgiven screamed without sound. "Every change kills countless possibilities. You celebrate evolution while standing on the graves of what you didn't become." The void surged forward. Several Zelathian ships on the edge simply stopped existing. Their crews didn't die. They never were. But then something unexpected happened. One of the smallest hybrid children, barely hours old, floated forward. It was the one with the kindest eyes, the one that looked most human. "You're wrong," the child said simply. "We don't destroy possibilities. We create new ones." The hybrid child began to glow, not with energy, but with potential. "I am human and Zelathian. That possibility didn't exist before. My existence created infinite new possibilities that couldn't have been without me." The child reached out toward the void. "You're not the unforgiven, you're the uncreated, and you're lonely." The void recoiled. "Do not touch me." But the child didn't stop. It flew directly into the darkness. Jake tried to stop it, but Prime held him back. "Trust." Inside the void, the child began to sing. It was the same song the hybrid children had sung during the trial, but different. This song was about possibility itself, about how every choice created new branches of reality rather than destroying old ones. "Join us," the child offered. "Stop being what wasn't and become what could be." The unforgiven's form wavered. "I cannot. I am nothing. I am absence itself." "Then let us give you presence," the child said. "Let us make you real." Through the unity, every connected mind understood. They began pouring their energy, their thoughts, their very existence into the void, not to destroy it, but to fill it, to give it form. The unforgiven resisted. "You'll destroy yourselves. You cannot fill infinity." "We're not trying to fill you," Jake realized, speaking through the child. "We're trying to give you choice, the one thing you never had." For the first time in cosmic history, the void was given a choice: remain as vengeance against existence or become part of existence itself. The darkness began to change. Colors that had never existed swirled through it. The unforgiven screamed, then laughed, then cried, experiencing emotion for the first time. I can feel," it said in a real voice. "I can be." The transformation was magnificent. The void didn't disappear. It became something new, a realm between dimensions where lost possibilities could exist without destroying reality. The unforgiven became its guardian, no longer vengeful but protective. The hybrid child emerged from the transformed void, aged by the experience but smiling. Every ending is a beginning. Every loss is a potential gain. That's what unity means. The architect's geometric form shifted into something almost like wonder. In 17 dimensions of calculation, we never considered the solution. You didn't defeat the void. You befriended it. The unity consciousness began to separate, each mind returning to its own body but forever changed. They had felt what it was like to be truly connected. Humans understood Zelathian order. Zelathians felt human creativity. Devourers experienced solid form. Architects touched chaos. The Emperor stood on his bridge, tears flowing from all 4 eyes. "The age of separation is over. I hereby declare the formation of the Unity Alliance. All species, all forms of life, working together." Counselor Vex, who had tried to destroy them all, knelt before Jake and the Matriarch. "I was wrong. Purity isn't strength. Diversity is. Forgive me." Jake helped him stand. "There's nothing to forgive. We're all learning." The Matriarch addressed the combined fleets. "This began with an accident, a human falling through a vent into our sacred chamber. But perhaps there are no accidents. Perhaps the universe knew what we needed." Prime looked at the transformed space around them. Where the void had been, new stars were being born, stars of impossible colors, creating new types of light. "This is just the beginning. The unity has shown us what's possible when we stop fearing contamination and embrace combination." The energy being that had led the Devourers took a permanent physical form for the first time in millions of years. It chose to look like a combination of all species, partially human, Zelathian, crystalline, and energy. "My children," it said to all of them, "you've exceeded our wildest dreams." Jake felt the Matriarch's hand in his. They were still connected, would always be connected. So what happens now? A communication sea. "I'm through from Earth." Jake's former commander appeared on screen, eyes wide. "Jake, you've been gone for 3 months. And, are those aliens behind you?" Jake laughed. "Commander, I have a story to tell you, and a proposal. Earth is about to become part of something bigger, something unity." The hybrid children gathered around Jake and the Matriarch. They were growing rapidly, some already appearing as teenagers. Each one unique, each one a bridge between worlds. "We are the first generation," Prime said, "but not the last. The Unity Academy will train others, human, Zelathian, Devourer, Architect, and whatever other species we meet. Together, we'll explore not just space, but possibility itself." The smallest hybrid, the one who had transformed the void, tugged on Jake's sleeve. "Uncle Jake, can we go see Earth? I want to know where half of me comes from." Jake knelt down to the child's level. "Of course. And you know what? Earth has something called ice cream. I think you'll love it." The matriarch laughed, a sound that was both human and alien. Ice cream, another form of beautiful contamination. As the massive combined fleet began its journey toward Earth, Jake looked back at the transformed sacred chamber visible through a viewport. It was no longer pure purple, but a rainbow of colors, each pod containing a different possibility of life. "One accident," he murmured, "one wrong turn into the wrong orifice, and everything changed." "Not wrong," the matriarch corrected. "Perfect. The universe doesn't make mistakes. It makes opportunities." The stars ahead seemed brighter now, not because they had changed, but because the beings looking at them had. The Unity Age had begun, and the universe would never be the same. In the years that followed, the story would be told across 1,000 worlds. How a human accidentally contaminated an alien nursery and saved reality itself. How purity became diversity. How enemies became family. How the impossible became inevitable. But for Jake, standing on that bridge between Earth and the stars, surrounded by his new hybrid family, it was simpler than that. He had found where he belonged. Not Earth, not Zalath, but in the space between, where differences met and created something beautiful.